New suitors for Luke Kornet. What's going on with Al Horford? And there's a new free agent on the center market that could change things for the Celtics. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis. Recap the madness every game, every practice. Prime time, Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining Jays, how it started, raising business, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics, and I talk about them every Monday through Friday right here on this podcast. So make sure you're subscribed, watch the show on YouTube, get into the comments section, share your thoughts with me. I'm John Karalis, beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've been covering the Celtics for about 20 years now, written a couple of books on the Celtics. So that's my job. I talk about the Celtics. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make your first $5 bet. If it hits, you get $150 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com. Later on in the show, we'll talk about Sam Hauser, a little change in the Sam Hauser discussion. That's in the third segment. Second segment, Deandre Ayton is hitting the free agent market. We'll dedicate that segment to him. We're going to start with Luke Kornet, Al Horford. Free agency begins on Monday evening, officially, I believe at 6 p.m. Eastern. So a lot of things are going to happen. I don't know if anything Celtics-wise is going to happen, but let's just be clear here before we get started that whatever happens on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, the Celtics are not done. This is not the final product. We probably won't get any clarity on what the Celtics' final roster is going to be for a little while. They could carry that into the season. That could even be flexible during the course of the season. This is going to be a very fluid operation for Brad Stevens and the front office. So it's just be aware of that as things start to happen. I think one of the things people love to do is react to be like, hey, oh, whoa, that's it. This is the guy. This is who you're relying on. Or Luke goes and like, that's it. There's no one else coming. We don't know yet. So let the summer kind of play out. The Celtics are doing a lot. I feel like we can trust Brad Stevens. He's proven to be trustworthy when it comes to making moves. He knows more than we do. And so far, so good, I think, with him. So they're probably going to move Anfernee Simons. I expect them. I've been expecting that since the beginning. If you watch any of my reaction podcasts there, I would expect them to move George Niang, which I'll get more into in the third segment. I don't know that those guys are going to stick around. So there's always going to be something else coming here. It's a perpetual motion summer for Boston. But Luke Kornet is a priority. Brad Stevens called it a priority. And it's something that the Celtics want to do. They want to keep Luke, and he's going to have a lot of suitors. I'll repeat myself a little bit here when it comes to Luke's value. You look around the league, Steven Adams got 3 years, $39 million. So you're looking at $13 million a year for him. Luke is probably in that range. Bobby Portis got a $44 million extension. Naz Reid is better than Luke, obviously, but 5 for 125 gets him $25 million a year. The question is, where does Luke fit? Where is Luke between Steven Adams and Naz Reid? If you're building out a graph and Naz Reid is at one end and Luke or Steven Adams is on the other, where does Luke fall into that kind of that graph, that line? There's the potential that he will take less than his value to stay with the Celtics. So if he's valued at 14, he may take a little bit of a haircut there to stay in Boston because he wants to stick around if the Celtics are willing to pay him that. Just to clarify some things, I know they've been moving a lot of money around. They don't have to stay under the second apron after this move, right? They've moved money around in the Porzingis trade, in the Holiday trade to get under the second apron. They can re-sign Holiday, whatever number, let's just say it's 10 million. That would put them back over the second apron. But that's okay because, as I've said a bunch, they have time. They have all summer. They have all year, basically, up until the last day of the regular season to figure out a way to get back under. Functionally, that's the trade deadline, but still, February is the deadline to make all of this work. So they're not bound by second apron. They're not capped at the second apron just yet. They haven't done any moves that cap them at the second apron. So they can sign Luke if they see a number. If the final number, let's just go with Mark Stein's reporting saying San Antonio and the LA Clippers are teams to watch, teams to kind of keep an eye on that may be targeting Luke. Okay. In his reporting, the Spurs have their full $14+ million traded player exception. I don't know that they're going to use the whole $14 million on Luke. I don't think he's a full mid-level player, but maybe they do. Maybe they do think he is. If that's the case, and the Celtics say we're going to keep him if he takes 10, they can give him 10. That will put him $3 million over the second apron. They can turn around and maneuver, make some other moves. Maybe the Simons goes out. He's at 27 and change. He goes out for a guy that makes 20 something or low 20s, and that could be the number to get you underneath, and that covers the Luke Kornet difference. You can move George Niang. You can do other things and clear space to stay under the second apron. So they don't have to do that yet. The Celtics can figure things out. Number one, figuring out what Luke Kornet's market is and what teams are willing to pay for him, what the offers are, and then adjusting, being like, how much money, how much less, what's your line to come back to Boston? If you're getting 14 from San Antonio, is your line 12? Is it 10? Is it 7? What's your number? I think Luke is at a place where he wants to be happy. He wants his family to be happy. And that's the priority. At the same time, you've got to maximize your value. And if the Celtics are saying most we can do is 7 and someone's giving you twice as much, you just might have to say, look, man, I love everybody here. I love the city, but we're going to have to do this because an extra $7 million, minus all the taxes and stuff, especially if it's San Antonio where there's no state income tax in Texas, you could say that's just a lot. It's too much money to pass up. So it's the value. Luke's market has to set itself. So where he falls in that, what a team is willing to pay him, what the Celtics are willing to pay him, it's all part of the thing. We still don't know. Adam Himmelsbach tweeted out that Al Horford continues to mull potential options for next season and does not appear to have a final decision done by the first day of free agency. So they're going to have to see what the market is for Al Horford as well. Is somebody coming in with the taxpayer mid-level or the non-taxpayer mid-level? What number? Is it 5? Is it 6? Is it more? Is it less? It's a lot of money. And if the Celtics are saying, hey, we're only going to offer the minimum, 3 and change, or maybe they're saying we can offer you 5, but that's it, then Al has to make a decision. His decision also based on family, all that stuff, because you just don't know at this point. Is Al going to prioritize one more legitimate run with a contender? What contender is going to give him the money? And is he going to bounce for a year to try to get a second ring? I think you can get Kornet at I don't know, 10, maybe less. It's so hard to say. It's so hard to say. And now that DeAndre Ayton is involved, it makes it even more difficult to say. Let's get into the DeAndre Ayton stuff when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, so whether it's baseball under the lights, golf on the green, high-stakes soccer actions, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You follow all the action, why not make the game a little bit more thrilling? FanDuel can get you in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned on the beach. You can use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. So you can put a same-game parlay on a game, or you can let a bet ride into the ninth inning. FanDuel makes it look like or feel like you're part of the action. Make sure you're setting your limits, set your budget. They give you the option when you first sign in, so make sure you take that right away. Only bet what you can afford to lose, and that way, if you have a cold streak, you protect yourself. You're just trying to have some fun here, and if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. This normally would be a Mailbag Monday podcast, but I thought free agency, especially with the DeAndre Ayton news, I thought it would be especially. I thought I might miss something, basically. So I postponed the Mailbag podcast, but you can still submit your questions. I will get to a mailbag this week. JohnKaralis.com/mailbag. JohnKaralis.com/mailbag. So DeAndre Ayton is going to be a free agent. He will clear waivers on Wednesday. There's no threat of somebody claiming him on waivers because he makes $35 million with the Blazers. They're giving him a buyout, whatever he's negotiated. If you claim him on waivers, you're paying him all of that money, so nobody's going to claim him. Why should they? Now, there are potential suitors for Luke. There are potential suitors for Al Horford. DeAndre Ayton represents, he's better than both those guys. He's the number one pick recently, and he's still better than both those guys. At $35 million, not worth it, but at something much less, then yeah, you can roll with that. Now, I don't know what he's going to make. Again, first of all, if you hear me saying a lot, like, I don't know what he's going to make, this market, this is the second apron, the first summer of second apron, true second apron impact. Why I don't know. We've never seen this before. We don't know what the overall impact of second apron, watching your money, looking at the potential basketball penalties, and how is that going to impact what money is going out? I have a sense of, what guys under the old system. Under the old system, I'd be like, Luke Kornet getting $12 million makes perfect sense. Under this system, does it make sense? Is he going to get a big contract from a team looking to get to the salary floor? Is somebody going to come in and give him $20 million just to get to the salary floor? Is somebody going to give him a better opportunity and say, hey, give us 2-3 years, like the Spurs, like put you next to Wemby, or you could back up Wemby. We're making our move. Other team, the Clippers, they say we're making our move. They just got an agreement from James Harden. Having a good solid backup center could be a game changer for the Clippers, and they could sell it as that. So I don't know. I don't know what DeAndre Ayton is going to make, especially because the buyout is going to, I don't know what he negotiated as a buyout, but he was making $35 million. Does he take less? Whatever it is, he's going to get that money. Whether he could sign in Boston for the minimum. Now he won't, because you don't want to have that the stink of the minimum attached to you at that age. But if he did sign for a minimum somewhere, he still gets the money from Portland. So he can go anywhere. Somebody could offer him the taxpayer mid-level. The Lakers could offer him $5 million. And he could be like, yeah, sure, cool. Because he's going to get the rest of his money from Portland anyway. The whatever a team gives him offsets, but let's just say he's owed the full 35. The Celtics give him 5. The Blazers owe him 30. So he'll get his money. So he can go anywhere. He could play next to Luka and, probably increase his value. He can go after that and sign wherever. Or he could say, maybe he's got a deal already. Point is, Deandre Ayton can take a suitor away, and somebody who was giving Luke Kornet or Al Horford a hard look can now be like, oh, wait a second. We're going to go talk to Deandre first. Just hang right there. We'll be right back. That doesn't mean that Luke doesn't get that same money from somebody else. But a team that was looking for Luke Kornet and suddenly says, oh, Deandre Ayton's available. Let's go take a look at this. Then that could change things for the Celtics. That could allow them to keep Luke. There's a potential, just saying, that Luke could be getting a big offer from this one team, and that team says, no, we're going to give this to Deandre Ayton. And now the next team comes along and is like, well, we only got $10 million to spend on you, Luke Kornet. And he goes back to the Celtics and they're like, well, we'll give you the 7 if you want to stick around and take a discount. And that $3 million is a big difference, but you can talk yourself into, well, after, taxes and after my agent takes a cut and after, this and that, I'm getting, an extra $1 million. Is an extra $1 million worth me uprooting my family and taking them a place we don't know if we're going to like it? You can talk yourself into sticking around at that point. If the number extends to double what the Celtics are offering, then that's too rich for their blood. The Celtics aren't going to pay $14 million. To be clear, the Celtics can pay whatever. They can basically match any offer. They have bird rights on Luke Kornet. So if they wanted to, and some team said, yeah, we're going to give you the full, if San Antonio said we're going to give you $14 million, the Celtics could be like, no, we'll give you the $14 million, which is not feasible in reality, but it's technically possible because they own his bird rights. So they can play it however they want. But DeAndre Ayton, for all of there's plenty of criticism. There's no doubt he's a first, he's the first overall pick, but there's no doubt he's a bust as far as that goes, which, what a swing and a miss. But he has a chance. He's still really good. He's still really good if he wants to be, if he dedicates himself, and if he's in the right situation, he could still be really good. And a team should probably take him ahead of Luke Kornet. The problem is for DeAndre Ayton is that he and Luke Kornet aren't as far apart talent-wise or production-wise as they should be. But he's still going to take some of the interest that was on Luke and push it the other way. There is, the free agent, the Celtics, the center free agent market, you still have Brook Lopez, Clint Capella, Miles Turner. I don't know what his deal is going to be. The Magic just declined the option on Mo Wagner. He's recovering, obviously, from an ACL tear. So I don't know that I think he's probably going to stick around. You got Kevon Looney. You got guys out there that are cheap options. I'm still holding out some level of hope that the market for Luke is going to be strong, but not so strong that it prices the Celtics out. Al Horford it might be a different story, but I expect him to get somewhere between the veteran minimum, which for him is over $3 million, or somewhere like $5 million, and I think the Celtics can bring him back at that number. We'll have to wait and see how free agency plays out. The Deandre Ayton thing certainly throws, I don't want to say a wrench into things, but it does disrupt what was the market for Luke Kornet. All of this financial talk, we've been talking about how Sam Hauser could be gone as part of this financial retooling. Not so much. That's next. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA, Locked On NBA, and Locked On NBA Game Night. 2 podcasts on the feed talking free agency, basically 2 NBA podcasts on that feed. I'm going to be there Fridays with Jake Madison, so make sure you check out Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcast, wherever you found this podcast. Sam Hauser, I felt like for a while it just was a fait accompli that the Celtics, Holiday and Hauser, my plan was Holiday and Hauser, keep Porzingis, and Hauser into cap space made sense. And financially, it could still happen. But a lot of reporting out there now that the Celtics are going to hold on to Hauser. And which, by the way, I'm glad that they're going to do that, because it allows, first of all, you keep a good player. Sam Hauser's a good player. It allows you to potentially, depending on how things go, how far under the second apron they get, you can aggregate them in a trade if you really needed to. $10 million is a nice number to get you where you need to go when matching salaries. So that's also an option at some point here. But things have changed since the beginning of the Sam Hauser being traded into an exception discussion was brought up. First of all, they got under the second apron. They made the trades. Porzingis was the guy that went, and that saved them $20+ million. And flipping Anfernee Simons for less can save even more. And now George Niang is here with $8 million that is much more palatable. Now you can trade him into somebody's exception or cap space. You probably have to attach some sort of draft asset to make that trade, versus Sam Hauser. You're probably going to get something in exchange for him. But a team looking for, hey, look, he's a 40% three-point shooter. We can pop him in there in a pinch. Just like I was saying with him in the Celtics, you could talk yourself into that if you're getting paid to take his contract. So it's much more palatable to trade him. We don't even know him yet. Like, he hasn't even shown up. There's no, like, I'm sure Brad Stevens has been like, you know what? I know you're from, the northern Massachusetts here. I think he's from, Methuen, Lawrence, Haverhill, that area. Don't get too excited about playing. Don't start buying tickets and stuff for your family just yet, because there's a chance here that you're not sticking around, buddy. And it makes much more sense. So you can trade $8 million into nothing and save yourself the money that you were going to save when you're looking to trade Sam Hauser. So I love the idea of Sam Hauser sticking around. He's obviously a really good shooter and a better defender than people want to make him out to be. I think that that's a smart move, and kind of pulling that idea off the table at this point makes a lot of sense. The Celtics have other moves. There's a lot of talk about Anfernee Simons being moved, and that's the first thing that I thought once they traded for him. I did never think that he was coming to Boston. Kind of interesting that there's been no social media. I haven't seen any social media stuff from him being like, oh, I can't wait to get to Boston or anything like that. I think everything's been kind of quiet for a reason. So unless I missed something, but Simons, that reverse paperclip game. Remember the guy who started with a paperclip and started trading for things so he can get to a house, and you trade a paperclip for a pencil for a marker for a stapler for, you know what I mean? You keep trading up until you get something big of real value. This is the reverse. You trade Holiday for Simons and Simons for the next guy and the next, there could be two more trades coming from that until you get that player down to somewhere in the teens. And hey, look, if you can save yourself $15 million on the Holiday deal and $22 million on the Porzingis deal, and now you're at $37 million saved, that allows you to go make a lot of moves, signing Luke and Al and doing some other stuff and being able to aggregate players in a trade and not worry about that second apron and save a ton of money on taxes. So I think keeping Sam Hauser around makes good sense. And I'm glad that the new reporting is that he's going to stick around. I'd love to see that happen. We'll see how this goes. Day one of free agency. This is a weird one. You've gotten a lot of extensions already. Guys have opted in. LeBron's opted in. Guys are starting to get contracts. I don't think there's a ton of free agent player movement to be made. So let's just kind of see how this progresses. I will do a mailbag one of these days as things get quiet for the Celtics. So johnkaralis.com/mailbag for that. And I would love it if you got into the comment section. If you're new, if you're an everydayer, thank you so much for being with me every Monday through Friday. If you're new, become an everydayer by subscribing, watching the show Monday through Friday. We are 5 days a week for, June is over. So all of July, August, we go down to 3 days a week, September, 3 days a week. And then once the season gets going in October, we are back to 5 days. So that's the plan for the summer. Make sure you're subscribed, get into the comments section, share your thoughts, and I would love it if you shared the podcast, told everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.